Great. So I'm kind of hovering close here because I want to stay seated for something I'm going to do. But if you want to, actually, no, I was going to say you can start lying down. Just make sure that you have either a couple of yoga blankets or a couple of bath towels because we are going to do a supported back bend a little later on in the class. So you'll need something for that. And you might want to have yoga blocks if you have them, or even like a soft pillow. So get a hold of those items if you don't have them, and then get comfortable on your mat. And maybe we will start sitting up today just for something a little bit different. So I'm going to go back and sit on the mat. But I've already had some opportunity to lie down today. So if you feel you don't want to start seated, that's okay too. You can start lying down. We'll end up there soon anyway. So come to seated if you're going to sit in a comfortable position, which might mean cross-legged. It might mean no way is that comfortable. It might mean sitting up on some blankets. It might be just sitting with your tushy on the floor. And you don't even have to come to your mat. If you'd like to be seated in a chair for a few moments, you can do that too. And while you're sitting, the only thing I ask, no matter what you're sitting on, that you're sitting tall. So see if you can get a sense that your shoulders are related to your hips as opposed to leaning forward. So if I'm not thinking about it, I would be here. And then my son is like here. So we want to get our shoulders over our hips roughly. And then we also want to see if we can have our neck long and even our earlobes. I don't want to pull too hard, my microphone will pop out. Our earlobes about over your shoulders. I find that a little difficult. My earlobes tend to be a little forward, so that's something I'm working on. We all have something to work on. And we're also going to think about length when the anchors of the sitting bones lifting up. So see if you can find that length if you choose to sit with me. And again, feel free not to. And then just stay present with your breath without changing anything. Use this opportunity to observe without judgment something that's very important and that we don't have to take care of. Our breath is taken care of by our nervous system, the part of our nervous system that is in charge of doing all the things that need to be done that we don't have to remember to do them. So follow the rhythm of your breath, close your eyes, dial out your awareness of your surroundings as much as you can. You could certainly have your hand on your loving dog or cat if you like. That's never, I don't think that's really a distraction. That's just an asset as far as I'm concerned. But close your eyes, dial down the unnecessary distractions, and just bring yourself to your breath and observe it. Don't try and change it, and certainly don't judge it. Notice your breath as it rolls in and out. I'll give you a few specific things that you may want to notice, but of course you might notice something different. In yoga, theoretically, we want to breathe in and out through the nose. But if you have restriction, if your nose is stuffy, if you have allergies, you might not be able to get a really full breath through your nose, and you may do a little mouth breathing. Again, not ideal, but we have to feel like we're breathing in a way that is comfortable to us. Sit quietly and notice your breath. Our breath is not only powerful because it keeps us alive, but in yoga practice and just in other practices, focusing on the breath can also be such a useful tool in providing calmness. And we can actually do quite a bit of calming for ourselves just by observing the breath. And the next time you're ready, take one or both hands pretty high on your chest. So not in your throat area. So maybe on the collarbones or just a little below. You can have one hand or one hand with the other on top. Sit nice and tall. And this is also a good way to cue your body not to collapse. So you want to keep the chest lifted and the heart almost tipping up a little bit into your hand. And the next time you inhale, without force, let your breath be just a little bit longer or a little bit slower, whichever idea works best for you. Just let that breath be long. And notice as you breathe if you feel any sense of lift or expansion in the area underneath your hand as the breath fills. And then exhale when you're ready. And then just take 2 regular breaths. Just let 2 breaths follow along in and out with this awareness on the upper chest and maybe in a sense on our upper lungs. So we're breathing into the upper parts of our lungs. And then move your hand down a smidgen, not as low as your belly. I was going to say if you put one hand underneath, that would be too low. So just bring your hand a little bit down. So it's definitely still relating to the chest, but it's not on the collarbones. It's a little lower than that. And then you can do hand over hand if you wish, or just one. And then again, the next time you inhale, just slow down your inhale or think about making it a little longer. So you can notice as you inhale, if you feel any sense of lifting here as you fill the lower part of the lungs. And then just take 2 regular breaths here. And you also might notice that when you were thinking about breathing up here, it felt maybe not like such a big lift or expansion, but you feel it down here, or you felt, or the other way, that you feel more here in the upper chest and didn't feel more in the lower. Good. And then either have both hands there, or if you feel that I like to have the hands there because that gives me more of a sense of awareness of the expansion as I breathe into my hands. But you don't have to have your hands there at all, but have one hand up like right below the collarbones and the other hand below that. And again, this is just to observe. We're not trying to change or definitely not judge our breath. But the next time you inhale, take a slightly longer breath or a slower breath. So you're really savoring that breath as you sip the air in through your nostrils. Pause when you're filled, and then slowly exhale. And then just breathe naturally, just 2 or 3 more natural breaths, nice and easy, in through the nose and out through the nose. And you might notice if you notice more sense of expansion where your top hand is, or more sense where your bottom hand is, or if they're about the same. It's again, not trying to change or fix anything, just to notice. And let's do one more place. Bring your hands to your side ribs. So if you bring them here, they're on our front ribs. To bring them on your side ribs when you're sitting is really hard. So what I do is turn my fingertips up, and I kind of place my fingertips on my ribs like this. So it kind of looks like I'm going to do a chicken dance or something. So find a place where you can get a cozy sense of where your rib cage is. And one more time, as you inhale, take a slightly longer or slower inhale. This time, notice as you breathe if you feel any sense of expansion right to right and left to left. And as you exhale, notice if you feel any shift. And you might not feel either of those things, but you're still breathing. Take another natural breath and then bring your awareness to your right ribs. And you can keep a hand there. And as you inhale, breathe and focus if you feel anything on that side. So focus on your awareness of what's happening on your right side as you take a comfortable, slow breath. And after you let that breath go, take a few regular breaths. You can keep your hand on your right side if you like. Again, we're underneath the armpit on the right side. And then let's go to the other side. And again, the interesting thing here in terms of exploring is if you feel more sensation on one side or the other. So bring your awareness to your left side this time. And as you inhale, take that slowed down, super leisurely, relaxing inhale in through your nose if you can. Use the mouth if you need to. I know if you feel any sense of widening on that side. And then take 2 more regular breaths where you're not trying to change anything, but just notice if you feel any subtle sense of expansion on your second side, on your left side. And then release that. If you were sitting up this whole time, And if you were sitting cross-legged, definitely take your legs out in front of you and just roll them in and out, or point and flex your toes. Now we're going to come to lying down on our side. We're going to do something on one side and then the other. It's a little time consuming for an hour class, but it is nice. When we lie down on our side, we definitely need support under the head because we don't want to have our head like this when we're lying down. So, and have enough support underneath your head so it feels very, very natural. And you're going to do two things before you lie down. Just make sure whichever side you're facing that you're not smack up too close to the wall behind you, because you may smack into it with your hand. And when you lie down, you're going to be lying toward the front side of your mat. And we will do this on both sides. So I have more room behind me than in front of me. And I'm going to use a little support under my head. I have to be careful because I need to have my earpiece free. And bend your knees. If you have a lot of pressure on your bottom hip, you could do a few things. You could kind of just stick your butt out a little bit. That might help, because if you push your butt out and then you slide the top knee a little further forward of your bottom knee, you'll transfer some of that weight onto the outer thigh and it won't be on the hip bone. Now take your bottom arm out. I don't think I gave you a side to start on, but just remember you're doing one side and then the other. And then take your bottom arm out with the palm up. That might disappear off the screen here because the way I moved. Then you're going to take your top arm. You're just going to rest it on your bottom arm. And you'll notice that the hands probably aren't going to touch, right? And then you're going to just slide your top arm a fraction toward the other hand. And then you bring it up to about the height of the shoulder. And then you bend the elbow. Take the back of your hand to your forehead. And not by turning your head, but by gently drawing your top shoulder back. And that's going to turn the arm, and the arm is going to turn your head, and going to open up the chest a little bit. We're going to be mobilizing the shoulder blades as well. And make sure what's ever under your head is wide enough so that you don't fall off when you open up. And then come back to your side, release the top hand. We're going to do two more of those. Top arm on the bottom, slide the top arm a little further, and we're doing that from the shoulder blade, from your top shoulder blade. Slide that arm along the bottom arm, pick it up just a few inches, bend the elbow, back of the hand to the forehead, what I call woe is me position, and then just slowly roll back. And then we're going to do one more like that, and then we're going to switch it up a little bit. Back onto your side, release the arm, slide it along the bottom arm. You might notice as you do 3 of these that it might slide a little further, maybe, maybe not. Pick up the arm, woe is me, and then slowly draw back. Now, keep the back of the hand glued, and you might want to, you have a small thing under your head, push it a little more behind you, and then we're going to do the same movement, but we're not going to release the arm. So you're going to come forward again, ear over ear, inhale, roll it back. You're going to peel that top shoulder back. Exhale, condense your belly a little bit, come back to lying fully on your side, ear above ear. Inhale, open it up, no forcing, no pulling. Notice if you feel that you're getting, your arm is getting a little closer to the floor behind you. And then one more time, inhale. Roll that top shoulder back. Now here, if you're comfortable, you can stay here for a few breaths. You might have this arm in the air, might not be so comfortable. You can release the hand, place it down behind you, and if it feels comfortable, you can scoot, or scooch would be my official word, your shoulder girdle a little bit over to the side you're facing, and let gravity take the opposite shoulder down. You can keep your head in neutral. You could turn it to look toward what was the bottom hand, or you can turn it to look toward your back hand. So there's a number of things going on here. We mobilized our shoulder blades a little to do this. And it's a nice, it also kind of mobilizes and moves around the tissues in the chest, the shoulder blades. And there's a twisting aspect to it, as you can see. Make sure your lower legs are relaxed. You're not pulling, you're not creating effort, no pulling, no tugging, no straining. It should just be yummy. Take 2 more breaths here. And 1 more breath here. And then when you're ready, the hand that is behind you, you don't want to pull up with your chest because that can strain the shoulder. So take the arm that was behind you and place it on your hip and just come back to lying on your side. Stay there for a breath or two. And then you can either turn the other way. I'm just going to shift completely on my mat. So in case I need to see anything on the screen, I won't miss it. So you're going to roll over to your other side. Now that you did it on one side, you might know, oh, I didn't have enough padding under my head, and I totally need that. Also, if you were feeling when the legs were stacked on top of each other, if that was uncomfortable, you could take another blanket or towel, place it in between the top and bottom legs so you have padding on the inner ankle and the inner knee joints. So again, you're lying on your side. Now you can probably see why I'm having you come toward the forward end of your mat, so you have room when you open up that there's mat behind you, and your other ear is down. So again, if there's too much weight on your hip, you could kind of tip your butt back a little bit and or take the top knee and shift it forward so it's a little past the bottom knee. That's just if it feels good. And then take your bottom arm out with the palm up. Make sure your head is neutral right in the center of your shoulders. Take the top hand, and I see that's the thing. I'm deciding here which is better, that you see my hand or don't, or that I smack the wall. So when you place the hand on top, this is what mine look like. I hope you can see that. The fingers don't come to the finger, at least not initially for most of us. And then from the top shoulder blade, you're reaching the arm, the fingers are energized, and you're bringing the arm a little longer, but don't feel that the hands have to be at one on top of each other. The top fingertips could be behind or they could be forward. And then slowly lift that arm up, bend the elbow, woe is me, and then slowly roll that shoulder back a little bit. But you're not pulling or forcing. And as you exhale, roll back to your bottom side, release your top arm, rest it on the bottom, then energize it and reach it a fraction longer, not longer than the bottom arm, just longer than where you started. Bend the elbow, try and keep your head very comfortable. You will be turning the head when you open up. And then one more time like that, arm to arm, extend the top arm, bend elbow, woe is me, and then use the shoulder. You're not pulling from the elbow because that would irritate the shoulder joint. You're letting the shoulder take you back, the arm's taking your back. You may need to adjust where the head support is. And then when you get there, pause there. And then we're going to do a few more where we don't extend the arm again. So you're going to keep the elbow bent, but you're still going to roll back on your side. And then 3 like this. Inhale, open. And 2 more. And as you do this, just notice if you're feeling not so much stretch. You could be feeling stretch in your chest, but if you just feel a little more ease, if the movement becomes more easeful, and after you've done 3 on your third one, then release the arm. Now on this side, it's a little uncomfortable for me to release my arm all the way down, so I'm just going to rest it on my hip. And then you can also take your forward shoulder a little bit forward to get a little more connection of your mid-upper back down to the floor. Now that I did that, I can get my arm behind me. Nope, not working for me. Not working for me on this side. So I'm obviously a little tighter somewhere on this side. You can have your head just hanging out somewhere in the middle, looking to the side of the arm on the floor, or more like in a twist position with the arm looking a little over your back shoulder. And I just eked out a little more space here. Got a little more of my shoulder blade over toward the front edge of my mat on that side. It's also possible, at least I'm getting it on this side, that you could feel a little stretch in your top hip if there's a little tightness there. Relax your jaw, relax your legs, and take a breath here. And then when you're ready, inhale yourself back onto the side you're on, and just pause on your side for a moment. And then whatever arm is on top, take that hand, place it on the mat in front of you, start turning your belly button to look toward the mat. And the more that happens, then you're going to follow with your second arm and use your arm strength to get you up the rest of the way. Come to a comfortable seated position, cross-legged or not, on a blanket or not. We're going to do a little seated twist here, and maybe we'll be extra fluid in the twist because of that little movement that we did. So we're going to be starting by twisting to your right. So if you wish, you could take your arms and set them up. So if you're twisting toward your right, you can take your right arm slightly behind you and your left arm over to your right thigh. Or you can take the arms with you as you twist. And the nice thing about that, it uses a little more core control. At the same time, it doesn't allow you to pull with your arms. You're really twisting with the abilities of twisting that you have in your chest. Inhale here. And as you exhale, wrap your shoulder girdle and your collarbones to the right, and then place your arms down to support the twist that you created without pulling with your arms. So your twist could be like this, could be like that. And just notice how it feels. Here too, we want to have a relationship between our shoulders and our hips. Obviously our hips are looking forward and our shoulders are looking a little bit toward the right, but we don't want to have our shoulders way forward like this. We want our shoulders to be relaxed, and watch the head position. Bring the earlobes back over your ears. Soften your eyes or close your eyes if you like. Bring your awareness to your upper back. Remember, in the beginning of class, we had our hands on our chest. Imagine you could have one hand on the top of your upper back, and take a nice breath there, and imagine that you're breathing into your upper back lung spaces. And then imagine if you had collarbones on your back, bring your awareness a little lower than it was before. So instead of right up on the upper back, you're a little bit lower, not as low as mid back, and bring your awareness to your, what would that call it, lower upper back. Bring your awareness there and breathe your awareness there. Now we came into the twist either with the arms already set or the arms up, and you can come out either way as well. You could float your arms upward, for example, as you come back, or you could just leave them low. Before you do the second side, if you were cross-legged, if it feels okay, I recommend just switching the legs so you're not always sitting with the same leg forward, or just change your seat altogether. Twisting to the second side, remember, take your arms and set them up first, or for a little more core work, to ensure that you're not pulling with your arms, and just to get more length in your torso, take your arms up. They don't have to be straight. They can be in a bent elbow position, whatever works. Inhale, grow the length of your spine. Exhale, revolving the shoulder girdle and the collarbones, and then letting the hands go where they land. So we're not also setting the hands first, I think sometimes forces us to get to a certain destination. Now that you're twisting to your left, also make sure that your right sitting bone hasn't floated up. So you have two anchors underneath you. Make sure you're not forcing the twist. If anything is pulling, you can always back out a little bit. Bring your awareness to your upper back, right below the curve of the neck, and take a breath there. And let that go, and then take a regular breath or two. And then also in your upper back, but a little lower than you were the first time, take a nice breath there. And then one more breath for good luck. And then when you're ready to release your twist, find the length of your spine with the arms up or down or somewhere in between. Unwind your spine, float your arms down, take your legs and paddle them out a little bit. And just to get ourselves in another orientation, come up to hands and knees. We'll do a little cat-cowing with variation. So if you need padding underneath your knees, spread out a blanket or towel and come to the quadruped position. I'm going to have blocks handy because I'm going to show you a way that you can modify. You've probably seen me do this a million times, so you're probably bored by now, but you're probably just getting into your cat-cow, which is fine. So the traditional cat-cow is, as you inhale, you take a very long, leisurely back bend. Make sure you're not pushing your belly out. And as you exhale, you round deeply, forehead toward the pubic bone. A very nice stretch for the upper back, but not good if you have osteopenia or osteoporosis. In that case, you would inhale, take the back bend as you would, but when you're ready to exhale, with your hands either elevated on blocks, or you can come to your fingertips, not to start, but you would be in your back bend, right? And as you exhale, you bring your hips back to your heels, and you could reach your arms long and float your fingertips up. Float your palms up, the fingertips are down. So I'll do a few traditional. Inhale, exhale. Modified, the inhale is the same. Exhale, hips come back, fingertips come up, lengthening the spine this way, and your hips don't have to come back all the way. You can have them just part of the way. And one more time, just keep going with it. Pause if you'd like to. You can come to child's pose at any time. Inhaling with the blocks and exhaling, taking this variation with the hands on blocks. And just do one or two more. Make sure as you inhale, you're distributing the length of that back bend all along your spine. It can be very easy to really sail the tail up and not do anything for the upper spine. So we want to make sure we're including the whole spine in our movements. And even when we're not rounding the spine in the traditional cow, we are lengthening the front of our spine just by drawing our hips toward behind us, as drawing your hips toward your heels. The next time you come into whatever version of the forward bend you are, whether you're back here in this version or if you just rounded your spine, when you're ready, come to child's pose. You can have the legs parallel or bring the toes together. I was doing that automatically even before I said it. And then if you had a block there, you could use that for your head if you like. Rest your forehead on that. Oh, that feels nice. And then one of the nice things about child's pose is not only is it yummy, it helps bring awareness, tapping it with my back so I can reach it, to our upper back. So while you rest in child's pose here, bring your awareness, stay in child's pose, but bring your awareness to your upper back, not the neck, below the neck. Bring your awareness right there. Not with your hand, obviously, because it might not reach. And then a little lower. So about there. I don't know if you can see that. You get the idea, I think. So you're above the bra strap area, but you're not as high as you were before. And bring it to that area. Low upper back. And then if you want, just because child's pose is nice, bring your awareness to your mid back on the next breath, or just be present right where you are and don't bring your awareness anywhere, and just let yourself surrender to this yummy pose, sinking your ribs downward toward the thighs, letting go in your hips, letting go in your head, softening your jaw. And then when you're ready, slowly come up. After being in child's pose, it's really important and nice to stretch out the backs of the legs. So come back to table, tuck the toes of the right foot under, and really, really open the sole of that foot. So before you slide the leg back, you can even kind of energize the leg back and then drag that leg back. Oh, that feels good. And imagine breathing into the sole of your right foot, the center of your right foot. And that would be handy to have a little lung there. We could send that breath right up the tube of the leg, and then bring your awareness to the come over to your left foot, tuck the toes under, give a little push. So I'm pushing with my knee to really open the sole of my foot, and then drag the leg back. And try and keep your hips even as you can. I'm I could see I'm uneven on this side here. Up better. And bring your awareness to the sole of that foot, and let the sole of your left foot be a passageway of your breath to come up and through the tube of your leg. And then release that. Now, if you wish to take a downward facing dog, you can do that. I'll do one with you. You may prefer just to alternate the legs and continue doing that. Spread your fingers, tuck your toes. And here too, you can give that little push backward. Inhale, small back bend. Exhale, float your hips up. Soften your heels toward the mat and see if the ears can come kind of in between your inner upper arms. And take a few breaths here. Oh, I feel like yawning. Bring your awareness to your back if you like. No particular part of your back, just your back, and breathe into your back. And then when you're ready, release your knees down. It might be nice to roll your wrists around a little after that. So we're going to come to another back bend. This time, I'm going to create it with a blanket or a towel. So if you have a yoga blanket, they're kind of the same thickness. I'll show you with both. If you have a yoga blanket, you would fold it into, you would have it in the shape, sort of a big rectangle, and you could either fold it in half, that would look like that, or you could fold it in thirds. No matter how you fold it, or whether you're using a yoga blanket or towel, we want the prop to be narrower than our shoulders, so that when we lie on it, our shoulders slope down. And this is what the yoga blanket looks like when it's in thirds. But you might not have a yoga blanket. Everyone has a yoga blanket. So you can use a bath towel or a beach towel. Now, towels are thinner. And of course, this one is really thin. And it's hard to get them into kind of a standard shape. So I'm just going to fold this towel in thirds. You'll see it's much longer. So this is what this towel would look like in thirds. And this is longer than I need. Longer than I need. And if you're using a blanket, you might want 2 blankets if you want to be a little higher and if you want to give yourself a little more opening. I'm just going to stick with this one. Sometimes it's nice to do a little less and to be more subtle. You're going to place this lengthwise on your mat. The end of the mat where your head is going to go, have another blanket or towel handy. And that's going to only be there if you feel you want your head to be a little higher. Okay, so I'm just going to have that handy to show you. So you have that set up. The next thing, when we come into the pose, we're just going to be lying with the length of our spine on this blanket to create a back bend. As for your legs, if you happen to have a bolster or it could be just a couch cushion, you can have that at the lower part of your mat. So your tush would be in front of the blanket. You could loop your legs over a bolster. If you don't have your bolster, you're going to bend your knees and place the feet on the floor. So when you get all that together, you're going to sit your butt in between the well. Remember, my blanket is a lot longer. It's a really big beach towel. So there's going to be an end down there that has no responsibility. And then you either loop your legs over a prop if you have one. If you don't have one, no problem. Just have your knees bent. I'm going to ease myself down from sitting, but if your back is very sensitive or very rounded, you can also lie on your side and then just kind of roll yourself onto the blanket. Remember, your bottom is in front of the blanket. Now, because this blanket is so skimpy, I can feel it bunched up a little bit. So you might need to pull it a little bit at one end and then the other to get out any wrinkles. So I'm not on a really high blanket here. But the main thing is, no matter what blanket or towel you use, is that it is narrower than your shoulders because we want to allow our shoulders to soften downward. So I had mentioned to leave another blanket here. So if you're not comfortable having your head at the same level as your heart, and it could be a number of reasons, then you could take whatever you left up there and tuck it under your head. You don't need it. I'm going to keep it because otherwise I'm kind of a little low and my voice, I don't think, projects quite as well. Again, legs over bolster, or you can rest your feet on the mat, take your knees wide. Make sure the lower end of your blanket or towel is not digging into you. It should just kind of fill the space of the bottom part of the, it should kind of be underneath the sacrum. So the low back should be on the blanket. And then when the low back starts to shift into the lumbar spine starts to shift into the sacrum, that should be tipping down. And then your bottom, of course, is on the mat. Take your palms up, turn your palms up, take your arms wide, make sure you're comfortable. If you're not, come out right away. If you feel, I don't feel much, then you need to make the prop underneath you higher so you can stack another blanket or towel on top of the first. I usually come up much higher, and earlier today I did this with just a towel, and it was really nice. It was subtle, but really nice. And just let your body settle into the softness of the prop underneath you, and just make sure it's cozy first before you do anything else. Now, you can just stay in this pose and not give it any thought, because the way we set up the props, they will give us a slight back bend. So a back bend is not necessarily how much you could bend your back. I mean, obviously, depending on the asana you're doing, you will bend your back a lot. When we bend the back, we open in the front, and that's what's important. This back bends help to release the forward shifting that we have in our bodies, the condensing of the front of the spine as we age. So we're creating a lot of space and thus creating the effects that a back bend has on the front of the spine, even just with a little thin towel. Let the shoulders soften away from your ears. Let your hands be relaxed. Now, if you're interested in doing a little more breathing awareness, follow along and I'll guide you, but you can just kind of tune my voice out and just kind of just be here and enjoy the stillness. And you don't need to use your hands on your body for feedback unless you wish to. So if you like, we focus a lot on the back. Bring your awareness to your upper chest, right below your collarbones, right here. You can place a hand there if you like. Relax your elbow. And as you breathe, just notice if you feel a gentle rising and falling of this area of your chest as you inhale and exhale. You don't have to change your breath or do the awareness breathing that we did where we took a longer breath and we inserted that in periodically. Just notice whatever you feel and enjoy it. Let your back body soften down. And then if you like, shift your awareness still on your upper chest, still below the collarbones, but a little bit lower, like around here. And notice the gentle rising and falling as you expand and condense. If you like, try one more place. Notice we're not going to the belly at all. We're still staying in the chest. We're just going down a little bit more. So place one was here, place two, place three. Bring your awareness there. You can have a hand there if you like. And if you happen to notice if one place you felt the sensation was more prominent, just notice that. It's not right or wrong, just notice. And then whenever you're ready, if you like, think about the three places that you are all different areas in the front of your chest, way above the belly button, really above the solar plexus area also. And then when you're ready, take a breath into your upper chest without force and just notice if you feel the lift more prominently in the upper chest, the middle upper chest, the lower upper chest, or if you just don't care and you just want to enjoy the breath. And then just take a few breaths here as long as you feel comfortable. If you feel like your shoulders are irritated or if your low back is starting to feel a bit twitchy, come out of it sooner. Otherwise, just stay right here and enjoy this gift of using just a towel that you have around your house to give yourself a little back bend. And you don't need propping under your head. As I said, normally I probably wouldn't have it here. If you like, you could turn your head a fraction. You don't shift your head right to left, but you could take your nose and turn your head a little to one side. Take a few breaths there. And if you turned your head to one side, bring it back to center and take an equally small turn of the head to the other side. So your back stays in the same place. So we're just opening up the neck a little bit. And if you turned your head to the second side, bring it back to center and pause here. Relax your shoulders. If there's any tension creeping in, take a cleansing breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Relax your toes, relax your fingers, relax your thoughts. To release, if you had your legs looped over a bolster or a couch cushion, bend your knees and place your feet on that prop you were using. And then if you were using a prop, you push the prop forward, get your feet back anchored on your mat. And take your feet and knees parallel, decide which side you're going to roll to, shift your hips to the other side, and then roll over and just pour yourself over onto your side. Keep patting underneath your head. Your neck will thank you. And you might want to take the blanket or towel that was behind you underneath your spine and place it in between your inner ankles and inner knees just for a little extra cushiness. And just rest on your side for a moment. And if you like, while you're resting for like a minute, less than a minute, you could bring your awareness to your upper back and notice the breath in those areas where the breath feels like it's breathing you, where your body feels that there's a little movement, a little sense of shifting. Hopefully, if you had any tightness in the back, maybe some of the things we did loosened that up a little bit. I'm going to follow the back bend with another twist. So take your top hand, place it down, push down in the hand, start lifting up your body. When you can, get the other arm to help you lift up. Come to a seated position. You're going to sit on the length of your mat. And again, if you need to have a little padding under your bottom, that might help you to sit tall and also help you to have the shoulders over the hips, etc. And then take your legs out in front of you. Might want to paddle them around a little bit. And then bend your right knee, comfortable bend. Don't have to bring it up really close, especially if it feels irritating or if you're struggling to keep the knee up and it wants to be down, bring your foot a little lower toward the ankle. Before you twist, take a little look here at the straight leg, your left leg, and we want to make sure the leg isn't flopping, it isn't flipping, it isn't sagging. You want to have a little energy to that leg. Lengthen that heel away from the hip. Left hip and left heel lengthening away. The right knee is bent when we're twisting toward the right. As we did when we were sitting, for more use of your core and to ensure you're not pulling with the arms, you can twist with your arms up. I'll do that way on this side. But if you're going to set your arms first, which is more traditional, you take your right arm behind you and you can place your left hand on the shin. Okie doke. Inhale a breath here. And as you exhale, revolve your rib cage toward the right. If your arms were up, then you place one arm slightly behind you, the other arm on your shin. Make sure your shoulders are over your hips and you're not in your chaise longue here with the shoulders back behind you. We want our shoulders nice and lifted, the chest lifted and bright. Make sure you're not forcing the turn of your head or cranking with your arms. You don't want an angry twist. And if the knee, your bent knee, really wants to drop out, maybe just move the foot down a little bit rather than having the leg spilling out. That can maybe irritate a little bit your outer thigh or your inner thigh, depending on where you're tight. And then just breathe here in your twist. Twist help to not only nourish the spine, but they are big openers for the back. But we did a lot of back openers here. We did a lot of back bending. So you may want to bring your awareness more to the front of your chest. It's up to you. Or you may just want to stay in the twist without thinking about where you're breathing. And for some of us, focusing on the breath throughout the practice can really enhance the practice. For some people, I know it becomes an irritant. Two more breaths here if it feels okay, twisting toward your right. When you come out of the twist, you could just twist without your arms up. If you came into the twist with your arms over your head, you don't have to come out that way. If you are going to come out that way, I suggest bringing your back hand a little closer to your bum to make sure you have the support of your core to lift up, and then slowly unwind. Stretch out your bent leg, and you may want to flippy flop your legs around a little bit. And then second side, right leg stays straight, left leg is bent. Could be very different. Maybe on one side, the heel comes closer to your hip, on the other side, it doesn't. Make sure your right leg maintains a little alertness in the twist. And here I'm going to do the traditional way. I'm going to set my arms up, right hand to the left, or right below the left knee. Take the left arm behind me, but not too far behind. And because I have short arms, you might notice some on my fingertips. Not necessarily a good thing, but that's because my arms are kind of short. You can also take like a little padding underneath it if you don't want to be on your fingertips. And then inhale, nice and long along that beautiful length of your spine, and exhale into the twist. If you came into the twist with the arms up, you're going to bring them down. One arm behind you, one arm on the side, the leg that you're twisting toward. Make sure you're even on your sitting bones, that you're not leaning on the side you're twisting to, like you're really over eager, or maybe you're like not eager enough and you're leaning on the back. Ow, don't do that. You're leaning on the straight leg hip. Make sure you're nice and even on your sitting bones, that you're not pulling, straining, or forcing. And then enjoy your twist. Focus on your breath if you like, or just be in this beautiful shape that you created. And let the breath just breathe you and do its thing. You may notice the subtle sound of your breath. You may notice almost like an echo of your breath You may notice the movement of your breath. And then when you're ready, arms low or arms high, slowly unwind and prepare for deep relaxation. If there's any little movement you like to do, that's your little go-to before Shavasana movement, do that. You may want to keep it simple. You may just want to have a blanket or a pillow under your head. You may want to take something underneath your legs, like another rolled up blanket or a cushion. Maybe have an eye pillow. And when you're ready, come to lying down. I'm not going to be lying down for the whole Shavasana. So if you peek out, no peeking, but I'll probably come up sooner than you. So I'll be ready for you when you come out. But you're going to stay here as long as you like, including limited, not limited to, but possibly including just staying in Shavasana long after the class ends, because this is the best part. So make sure you're cozy, make sure you're warm. If you have another blanket handy, cover yourself up. Get your doggy and have your doggy cuddled with you. Whoever had I forget who had the dog. Surrender your legs to gravity. You did a lot of awareness on the back and the chest. Notice as you come to Shavasana, if you can really feel the connection of your rib cage to the floor. Relax your shoulders. Relax your head. Close your eyes. If you like, you can focus on your breath just at the start of your Shavasana for a breath or two, just to revel in the beautiful, natural rhythm of your breath that your body does for you every moment. When you're awake, when you're asleep, your nervous system takes care of this beautiful thing for you, your life-giving breath. And invite your mind and your focus to let go. If you feel your focus wandering, if you start getting washing machine mind, then by all means, bring your awareness to your breath. Bringing your awareness to your breath can be a great tool to help you get to sleep. Not using your breath as an end game that you have to breathe a certain way, but just to notice, think about a rocking of a cradle and think about your breath just kind of moving with the subtle movement of the breath, that it's lulling you to sleep like a rocking of a crib. Feel the earth underneath you supporting you, feeling the weight of the head surrendering. And then invite your head stuff, your thoughts, that is, to also surrender, just like the skull and the weight of the skull itself, the weight of your head stuff, let that go. Let go wherever you can and surrender to stillness. Continue to let yourself go and to enjoy the stillness of stillness. In our practice this evening, I directed your attention to breathing in some very specific areas, which I hope if it wasn't of interest or if it was annoying, you just ignored that part and you just didn't pay attention to that. So here, just bring your awareness generally back to your breath. Or if you were intrigued by breathing into these very specific areas of your upper chest, for example, feel free to do that again and investigate and enjoy. But either way, just bring your awareness to the natural flow of your breath, inhaling and exhaling. And as you prepare to release from Shavasana, whenever that comes, now or a few minutes or 10 minutes later, if you're going past the class itself, do bring your awareness back to your breath just to get yourself focused just for a moment on the beautiful, powerful breath, that beautiful rhythm that nurtures us, that heals us, that puts us to sleep, that wakes us up and keeps us breathing and moving. If you were lying down with your legs straight out, you may want to bend your knees and place your feet lightly on your mat. You may want to start stretching or yawning or sighing or making a whole racket and moving your jaw around or just savoring the stillness and the quiet in your mind and body a few moments longer. If you'd like to finish your practice seated once again, bend your knees and let your feet rest on your mat quietly. And then taking your time, ease your way over to one side and pause there. And then slowly, deliberately, if you like, make your way up to a seated position. And then wherever you are, if you like, join your hands together, palm to palm. Snuggle your hands toward your heart and tip your heart upward slightly. Thank your body for all it offers you. Honor your heart for its goodness, and especially for this evening, honor your breath for the life it brings you. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
It's been great, Louise. We really enjoyed your class.
Thank you.
If anyone has anything they want to ask or say, now is a great time to unmute.
Hi, this is Danielle. Oh, I feel so open in my chest. I'm like, whoa. I never felt so like expanse like that. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, that is awesome, Danielle. Thank you for sharing that. I
Oh,
was playing around with that the other day, and it was like, because a lot of times I do chest or, big places, and just kind of breaking it down because we have so much tightness and stickiness in our chest. And I think, and I'm not just making this up, and there's a lot of research on this. Sometimes we're just really breathing and just getting into part of our lungs. So I'm really glad that that resonated with you.
I really appreciated your explanation, especially with the downward dog. I have osteoporosis, and I really have a lot of trouble doing the downward dog. So you were saying to go on your fingertips would help.
Oh, and the cat cow?
Yeah. Oh,
Yes,
yes.
definitely.
I'm sorry.
Definitely, because if you have osteoporosis in your spine, if you have it there, because you can have it in other places,
I do.
where if you have it there, in the bones in front of the spine are coming closer. So if we're doing the traditional cat cow, we're doing something that's not good for it because we're bunching up the area that's already kind of congested. So instead of taking the forward bend with a rounded spine, you could either come up on your fingertips or use blocks. And then the inhale is the same. The back bend is good. But as you exhale, you slide your hips back and you're still forward bending, but you're doing it with length rather than curving the spine in. Does that make sense? Because you feel, that's why, even though I don't have osteoporosis in that area of my body, so I could theoretically round. This is just such a nice way to feel the length from armpits to hips, but you feel it more with the hands either elevated or on fingertips. So did you like that?
No, that's really a very practical thing. And yeah, and then I do have trouble doing the downward dog because it just puts so much pressure on my hands.
Yeah, down dog isn't for everyone, most definitely. It's not necessarily for everyone, and especially again with osteoporosis, you can still do it, but there might be other things that are just, feel better, serve
And
you better.
fortunately, I take a yoga class with a wonderful person, and my husband goes as well, but he does spend so much time doing the downward dog and the planks. So
Yeah, I mean, those are kind of staples of a lot of yoga practices, and they're great poses, but I was also trained in yoga for osteoporosis, so maybe we could do a class sometime in that, Z, just with some tips on things in general. But down dog wouldn't necessarily be the main go-to pose if you have osteoporosis in the spine, because it could put pressure in a way that you don't want to do.
thank you.
You're very welcome. Who was that, by the way? I'm too far back to see.
Quincy Egginton.
Oh,
This is the first time I've been able to join the class, but Zara and I go way back because she used to have me teach classes for the teens in Chappaqua, and then she brought me down to Yonkers.
oh, cool.
I know.
Well, thank you for that feedback. I'm glad it was helpful for you.
Very, very much so.
Yeah, maybe we could do a class in April or May on specifically just for, osteoporosis, or, I mean, everybody could join, but
Yeah, maybe that might be a good idea. Like based on Dr. Fishman's teaching, yoga for osteoporosis, we can do a little routine or something. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
It
we'll talk. This is why it's important to talk, and it's great that we all collaborate and suggest things. So yeah, so Louise,
yeah,
let's talk about this on email, and I want to thank
sure.
everybody for showing up tonight
Yeah,
and
thanks a lot.
practicing with us. And we're so glad that Quincy was able to join us, and everybody else who was able to join us. We had some people hop on and off, and they said that they had a really good stretch with you, so they are grateful too, even though they could not stay to the end of the class. So thanks again, Louise. It's been lovely, and thank you, wellness community, for showing up, and thanks, Jackie, for being my co-hostess. And
Hey, Jackie.
yeah, we will see everybody later. Take a
All right,
good
thank you so much. Good night, everyone. Have a wonderful sleep. Bet you're gonna sleep well after that.
Oh yes,
Bye-bye.
guaranteed. Good night.
Good night.